Hey everybody, what is going on? And welcome back to the channel. You know, there are so many different kinds of genres as far as video games go out there. It's hard to know which one is your favorite. You have first-person shooters, you have side-scrollers, vertical shooters, side-scrolling shooters, puzzle games. There are so many different genres. But the one genre that is probably more nostalgic than anything for me and my favorite are FMV games. Now I know you might be saying, what are FMV games? Well, it's quite simple. It stands for full motion video. And the great thing about these games is that they are so bad, they are good. And what do I mean by that? Well, there came a time when games were going away from cartridges and starting out on CDs. And it started off with PC games, but quickly came into home console systems. Things like the 3DO and PlayStation, and started off too with, you know, like the Sega games, Sega Dreamcast and the Saturn. These games, the full motion video games, are more of a experience, like I'd say a multimedia experience than a game. So let's sit back, relax, and let's check out some of these games, and let me show you exactly what am I talking about here. So still a little confused on what I'm talking about when I say full motion video games. Well, here it is in a nutshell. Basically, it is a B quality movie with interfaces kind of laid over top. So at certain points, you will be able to make decisions and interact on a very limited scale with what is going on with the screen. So I mentioned that it is pretty much B-movie quality material here, and boy is it ever. The acting isn't great, and that's what it makes it so good. And when I said that these games were so bad they're good, this is where that comes into it, because you just have to embrace the cheesy acting and the script that these poor guys have to follow.
Currently at this location.
So now, armed with the basic knowledge of what FMV video games are all about, let's check out the first one on our list, and that is Tomcat Alley.
You're on Shadow 5's way.
So as you probably can tell already, this is a cheap knockoff of Top Gun. And not a very good one either. But back in the day, I'm going to tell you, this game was fantastic. I still, even going back to capture the video for this, and it's been a while since I laid down and spent some time on this game, it's fun as all heck. I mean, for what it is, and I keep saying that, for what it is, I mean, if you come into this with really high expectations, you're going to get disappointed. But if you go in just looking to have fun for what it is, then you're going to enjoy the heck out of this. And the actors here are classic FMV actors, and I love the look of the main guy here. And, you know, this guy definitely looks like that dude that everyone's known at one point in their lives that maybe went a little bit too splishity-splashy with the cologne. Come on. Y'all know that one guy who shows up and it's like, damn, you knew he was there before the door even opened. And as you see here, basically the only thing you are doing is having interactions with pre-rendered screens, just like any other of these games, and having to lock on to different jets and go on missions and pretty much destroy whatever you were sent after. It's really basic. There isn't too much to this. And as you go along, depending on how well you do, you get different reactions. And the storyline is really where it's going to be at in these games going forward. The interactions that you have with your other actors on screen and how what you do affects them in the end.
Figure out a new way for you to release some of that tension.
Yeah, right, fly boy.
Okay, so that's definitely not creepy.
That chick got a call sign, don't you? No. How?
Pray you never find out.
Then what?
So the next game we come to is Lodestar, and this is probably top 3 favorites of me for all FMV games. And you play as Tully Bodine, and you are basically a space trucker, and that's it. You land on, I want to say, the moon, and now you got to get off the moon, but you're looking for a great haul to earn some money, and you get involved with picking up a load that I wouldn't say is necessarily legal, and now you have to get off the planet basically before you get caught by the cops. And what kind of makes this one a little bit more special than some of the other ones is the acting in this isn't all that bad. There's actually some actors that you may recognize. Yeah, it's low budget. All these games are low budget, but what you actually see as far as the actors doing what they're doing, it's pretty damn good.
Congratulations. It's a great life. Francis, he's going to need a decade of...
And I also have to say, the animation at the beginning of this, as far as explaining some of the stuff that's going on in this world, is actually pretty cool. That was one of the things that along with full motion video, is you were just starting to get a lot of the first computer-generated graphics that kind of showed you where maybe games and entertainment was going in the future. So something that was really cool, and this game does it really well. So in this game, you're actually doing more than a lot of the other ones. You essentially are stuck on a rail, and you have to do certain things, go to certain areas to get ready to take off. Namely, go get your load, and then go and fuel up, and then actually in the end be able to take off into outer space. And while you're doing this, the police are trying to stop you along the way. It is definitely a very interesting game, and I think the way it looks is also pretty cool, and it's different. I mean, come on, you're talking about a space trucker game. I mean, how interesting could it be? Well, as it turns out, the way they did it here, it's pretty damn interesting.
People have begun to disappear. Individuals, families, gone without a trace. All humanity is in danger. And this small Texas town sits at ground zero.
Ground Zero, Texas. Man, I love the voiceover guy. You can tell he wasn't the best of the best, but he was still pretty good. Nice, deep voice. Wasn't the deepest. I mean, hey, he's no Morgan Freeman, that's for sure. Ground Zero, Texas. That's another one that you always seem to hear about. And, you know, again, this game's going to play a lot like the other games. You know, the overlay over a full motion video. And I don't know what else more to say other than yeah, it plays a lot the same, and it's actually a fairly decent game.
Cell analysis, HQ has determined that these aliens must ingest a compatible life form.
The basic premise of Ground Zero, Texas is that aliens have started taking over this town in Ground Zero, Texas, and they are posing as people from the town, and you are like a tech guy that's supposed to pick out and destroy which people are actually the aliens. And there are cameras set up throughout the town, and agents there to help you, and basically just go along and try to get the least amount of damage to your cameras. And you achieve that by doing like a quick draw cursor shootout with all the aliens.
We've lost 3 tactical operatives in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, just gone, like that. No trace, nothing. Scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, me too. I hear you.
I'm heading back down to the plaza.
Glad you're online. Name's Breen. Been undercover here for over a week. What a dump.
Totally, dude.
Hi, Breen.
Hey there. Of course, the view's not too bad.
to the sewers, punk.
Sewer Shark I've talked before on this channel, but it is by far my favorite FMV game of all times. I'm not saying it's the best game of all times. I mean, that's, you know, look, that's totally subjective. But I just love this game. This is what came with the Sega CD player when I got it for Christmas, and I played the heck out of it. I still enjoy playing this game. And the only problem with this game is every time I want to include it in a video on my channel, I ended up playing it all the way to the end, and it takes me forever to get the game capture footage. Here you play as some sort of an exterminator in the sewer system, and you fly in some sort of vehicle, and you're going out there with one thing in mind: to exterminate something called radigators. And the whole premise behind this is you have to get a certain amount of poundage as far as you know, these radigators go to, you know, go further in the game. And along the way, there is the traditional bad acting. And, you know, in this game, I can't really say it's horrible. And you have some actors that you will recognize. And one of the actors that you'll recognize, mainly by her voice, is the assistant to your boss, who actually voices the character Harley Quinn in a lot of the animated series for Batman. On top of having to kill the radigators to get the poundage to be able to advance further in the game, you also get a set of 3 numbers here and there, and that will tell you which way to turn. It'll be 12, 3, 6, or 9, and based on that, you have to turn, you know, right, left, up, or down. And in order to do that, otherwise, that's pretty much the only way you can crash and get killed in the game, is by taking a wrong turn and slamming into a wall. All in all, this is still my favorite FMV game by far, and if you're looking to dabble into this genre, this is where you need to start, is right here. Night Trap is probably one of the best known FMV games out there, and I gotta be honest with you, this isn't one of my favorites at all. I appreciate what it means in the history of video games, but yeah, I just have never enjoyed this game.
Scat mission 230.
When Night Trap first came out, it was very controversial, and basically this game is centered around a house where girls come out and do sleepovers with the girl that lives there, but then they go missing. And there's a whole kind of predatory vampire capturing these girls. And at the time, lawmakers were really not happy with the way this was portrayed. Now, of course, in today's standards, it's really not that big of a deal. And when you really look back at it, it was cheesy then, and it is cheesy now. So, I mean, however you want to think of it, that's up to you. But this has recently been released again, oddly enough, on the Nintendo Switch. And when this first came out, the CEO of Nintendo, I think it was the CEO for America, Nintendo, said that this game and games like it will never be on the Nintendo Switch. Well, you know, evidently time heals all, and yeah, it got a release a couple years ago. So basically what you're looking at is this game is you're in this house, and you can go between each room, and there are traps in this room. And when you go to a room and you see one of the vampire zombies or whatever they are, you can set off one of these traps and capture them. That's it. There's not much else to it. And you really have to know which room to be in and at which time. So you don't even get to sit there and enjoy the game for what it is. You have to know pre-going in, hey, now I go to this room, now I go to that room. And that's pretty much it. The game plays the same way every time. And while this game is not my favorite game by any stretch of the imagination, if you're going to get into FMV, you got to pick this up. You got to give it a try at least once. The role it plays in the history of video games is a pretty big one, in my opinion. And yeah, if you're going to do FMV, you got to do Night Trap at least once. So obviously these games are not going to win Game of the Year. What are you going to do? It's just what it is. But these games, you have to understand, came out in a time when we were switching over from a certain type of game to whatever was going to be new going forward. And we didn't exactly know what that was. Game developers and manufacturers were trying something a little bit new. And yeah, I wouldn't exactly call these games, more of like a multimedia experience, just interacting with these full motion videos. But there is a charm to all these games, and I love them, and I love going back to them from time to time. Alright guys, well, thanks for hanging out with me. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed already, subscribe. Alright guys, until next time, take care.